NERDSoul.
Late ill kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that street geek and nerd soul. We are here to talk about Star Wars, y'all. We ain't gonna waste no time. I have Jay Sherer in the house. What's up?
I'm here. I'm ready to talk about this. This is episode 3 now. I think we're getting a clearer picture of what's going on. I'm down to talk about this.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you first, real quick. Do you like this episode?
I'm going to answer real quick. No. What about you?
Man.
What about you? Did you like it? Did you like this episode?
Not as much.
Yeah.
I will say, but we luckily we got Solar coming through here. We got Solar Gray. It seems like he's coming through here soon, so he'll be able to let us know. Solar, once he connects and everything, he'll be able to let us know if he likes this episode or not. But it's weird. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about in this episode.
Yes.
But I don't particularly like this episode.
Yes.
If that helps. So I'm not super digging it, but this episode gives me a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. But we also have Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer. I didn't know he was going to be able to make it. Solar Gray, tell everybody what's up.
Hey everybody, what is going on today? This is Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. And yeah, I made it. I made it. Although you turned off my logo, so that's a thing.
Oh, so, well, I mean, they won't be able to see. But anyway, just so you know, your mic is super duper hot, but I'll be able to fix that later. But I have to ask you.
Yes?
Do you like this episode?
Believe it or not, I did.
Ooh, at 33.3%, y'all.
Yeah, I did like this episode. I was surprised.
Okay, so what did you like about this episode in general?
Okay, so 3 things really stuck out to me in this episode, and it's going to be through one of them lenses, okay? Because that's why you have me on this show. Thing number 1, all right? The acting was leaps and bounds better in this episode than it was in the pilot. Oh my god.
Okay, I think I can agree with that.
Rosario Dawson, and yeah, that's what I gotta say.
Okay.
So the acting was a lot better. Second, I could look at this show through a feminist lens. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And see that this is the kind of woman-centric storytelling that I like to see. In the sense of, if you're gonna have something that's really woman-centric between Ahsoka and I keep forgetting the Mandalorian girl's name when I sit down at the mic. I don't know what it's about.
Who? Bo-Katan?
Yeah, Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
The anti-Jedi witch, Little Miss Smoky Eye, and of course Hera, and the reemergence of Mon Mothma. Okay.
Reemergence.
Well, I haven't seen her since Return of the Jedi because
I have words for her later.
And the big thing that I saw in this episode, again, through the feminist lens, is it showed all of our female characters just doing stuff. Boca Raton,
Bo-Katan.
Yeah, Bo-Katan. Sorry, I'm like Boca Raton. Isn't that a city in Mexico? Bo-Katan is studying to be a Jedi and is bad at it, but got the piloting thing and the gunner thing down.
Oh no, Sabine. That's Sabine.
Yeah, Sabine. Sabine got all that stuff going down. Ahsoka was actually a character and not a cardboard cutout, and I like seeing her on screen. Then we got Mon Mothma, we've got Hera, we got Little Miss Smoky Eye, we got anti-Jedi Witch, and I'm like, this whole episode's about them, and not once have they mentioned anything about being a woman, or it didn't go off on men or evil. I mean, they had one dude,
okay,
and we'll
okay.
talk.
So I see
We'll
what you're
talk
saying.
later. Yeah,
I see what you're talking about.
yeah. It was just they were showing.
So
They weren't
so
talking
Hollywood
about
didn't pat themselves on the back for having women in this show.
Exactly. They just had women in the show and they were getting it done. And I'm like, cool. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I like saying. And third,
Cool.
and the reason that I really liked it, and I was literally sitting up and taking notes. But as a media savvy person, I can tell they're pulling every single trick out of the Star Wars book that they can to get the audience to stay and watch. All right. But this episode felt a lot like A New Hope, specifically with the space chase.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that because Jay. Yeah, we're gonna get to that. But yeah, continue.
And the thing is, I haven't seen any Star Wars thing look and feel like anything from the original Tridge for a long time. I see the member berries, but I don't see them capturing the spirit. The last, or was it the Force? Yeah, the Force Awakens touched on it with the practical effects and the location shoots. But this one really had me a little more into it. Like the space fight, I thought was very well choreographed, and we're going to get into it later. But yeah, so with all three of those things adding up, I'm like, you know what? I like this.
Okay.
I like this. So
All right,
yeah.
So okay, good. Now I'm gonna start with this one. Something, because this episode, like I said, I didn't like this episode, but it gave me things to talk about. So
Okay.
first up is the training blind. The training and training blind. The first thing I love the way they show where your sword strikes were, so you can kind of see what you've been doing. And Huyang is just awesome. Like he's just like, yeah, barely. Yeah, kind of good. Like, even though I think he might be doing one of those things where it's like he's saying you're bad to make you try harder, but he is just cutting you at the knees. Like, look, hey, you need to keep up your skills.
With every line, he is just like, I've had teachers like that, and I still don't know whether I appreciate him or just plain hate him. I ain't gonna lie.
So this is where I got a little mad with Sabine. Sabine starts to train with the helmet on, and she can't see. And Ahsoka taps her, and she's like, "But I can't see," or she was like, "I'll be able to see," or something like that. And it's like, but you spent I don't know, a whole season or season and a half with a Jedi who was blinded in a fight. You may have to fight someone without sight. This is a possibility. Why are you pretending like it's not? Like, girl, come on. He was your boy. He sacrificed for y'all to be able to make it to the finale of the show. Why do I have to tell you what you went through? Like,
are you talking about Ezra or Han the Jedi? Okay, so
Kanan was blinded in a fight. So I'm like, do they remember that this happened? Do they, meaning the writers? Which brings me to a point, and then I'll throw this to Jay. So Jay wrote on Twitter, Disney Star Wars plotting. Find the map, then find the person the map leads to. And so it's saying this, I'm like, look, I know y'all are supposed to be some special Hollywood writers. Y'all know much more than I do. But if you do, why do y'all keep doing the same whack stuff and forgetting your own stuff? Like, y'all forgetting your own stuff. How is she going to complain like, oh, well, I mean, I'd be able to see. You know that you might not be able to see. Like, you know, you've seen that consequence. Are they forgetting these things? Now, it might be a Marvel situation where a lot of Marvel directors have been like, I don't care about the fans. I don't care about the material. So maybe that's it. But I'm like, this girl knows a man that was blinded. Like, come on, Sabine. Like, why are you acting like this? You know, you might have to fight without seeing. But I'll you know what? I will table that. Jay, how did you feel about Sabine and I guess forgetting her history? I don't know.
Well, okay, so here two things. First of all, I will say, but see, I felt this way about episode 1 and 2 as well. That I think Solar is 100% on. Disney is not being self-congratulatory about having female-led casts and in roles that matter. So that's phenomenal. And I think
they're just doing it.
That's a really good thing. Yeah, that's fantastic. They're just doing it. They're doing an amazing job in that regard. As it pertains to Sabine specifically, I am conflicted in lots of different areas about Sabine and Ahsoka together. I didn't pick up on the fact that like, hey, I can't do this blind, even though like a blind guy like literally trained me partially. I didn't pick up on that because I'm not as familiar with Rebels, so that didn't bother me because I didn't catch that in that moment. Okay. But I'm catching other things though, right? Like when it comes to her training, and they start to say things like, well, no, actually everybody can use the Force, and if they just train to use it, then they're good to go. And that kind of stuff really irritates me because something else Solar said is 100% true. Dave Filoni understands George Lucas Star Wars better than anyone else that has ever created Star Wars, like hands down.
Yeah, he was kind of like working side by side with him for a long time.
Exactly. And he does an amazing job of replicating what George Lucas did. The problem with that is they've tried to sell me on things being consistent in Star Wars that are not consistent. And you will see people that are Star Wars fans, and by the way, I'm a Star Wars fan. You will see Star Wars fans, instead of admitting that the continuity isn't great here, or that the philosophical approach to this character or this world building thing isn't just kind of confusing and messed up and doesn't make sense, they'll try and write these like essays about how it does make sense. But I'm here to tell you that some of the stuff does not make sense. It's fine, but it drives me crazy.
They'll do like these long think pieces where it's like, bruh, come on, man. Like, let's just be honest. They forgot about season 3. Like, let's be real.
Right. Exactly. And they forgot about the fact that we have had George Lucas himself, when in the documentary for people will go, oh, but George said. I'm like, I don't care if George said. George was still not making any sense when he said it, because when he says, oh, anyone can use the Force, okay, let's break that down for a second. First of all, why introduce midichlorians later then? If anyone can use the Force, then what do midichlorians have to do with anything? Yes, it makes it easier to use the Force. I've heard all the essays about it. Well, anybody can use it. But then we've also got 2 other considerations. Jedi let the Force flow through them and do the will of the Force. Sith use the Force and take over the Force to do their own will.
They manipulate it.
Yeah. So all of those things, when you start to break them down into their component parts, like, does the Force want Sabine not to move the coffee cup? Like, if you start to break it down, you go, that doesn't actually make a lot of sense, George. Like, some people can use the Force and some people can't use the Force. Oh, no, wait. Everybody can use the Force. They just need training. Oh, wait. Now we have midichlorians, which means some people can use it easier than other people.
Because Ahsoka says there's talent, but then with train, it's like, well, you're kind of, oh, man, because I don't want to, like, yes, I know that there are varying levels of Force sensitivity. I get that.
Yes.
But the way it came off is like, even if you're not super Force, like, say if, I don't know, let's say Anakin Vader was Force sensitive 10, like the top, right?
Yes.
Even if you're a 1, if you just work really hard, you could get up to a 9. You know what I'm saying? It's weird.
This is my point. Just let that stuff be vague and don't bring it up all the time. Because now I'm wondering to myself, I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, then why didn't you start training the other members of the crew in the Force? Why don't you train everyone in the Force? Why aren't the armies of the world being like, you know what we should probably do? Train in the Force, dude. Then we'd have the strongest army of all time. Like, yeah. So that's why I'm like, look, just don't get into the lore that much, because the lore isn't super clear. And if you just kind of ignore the lack of clarity, I get behind it, right? When you talk about balance, balance is a concept where you say, even Ryan Johnson made it the most confusing of all, because he's like, there's darkness in the world and there's light in the world, and it's good to have both. Well, then why do you keep telling me that the Galactic Empire is evil? Then that means that we should get rid of them, right? Like, there's no balance in that case. There's no balance to the fact that Darth Maul is a bad guy or Palpatine's a bad guy. That's not balanced. So they start to mix their lore together in such a way that I'm like, I understand what you're trying to do, but you are getting so specific and you're getting so into the weeds with it that it takes me out of it, because now I'm sitting here going like, well, that doesn't make any sense at all. The logic doesn't hold. So the parts of the Sabine training are bugging me, like in regards to that. Not so much, like your point is totally valid. It just didn't come up to me. Like it didn't come up to me in thinking like, oh yeah, that's right. Kanan was totally blind. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and that was a huge moment. The guy blinded him, and for a moment you thought, oh man, he's gone because he can't see. But then he found an even deeper connection through the Force at that moment of like, I don't know, great despair or whatever it was, and was able to fend off the attacker and best him. It was a huge deal. Yeah. And then he even went through the next season kind of like trying to regain that, because of course he can't see, and like continuing to operate as a Jedi. Like, bruh, it was a huge deal. And like, and she just like, I guess don't remember it.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Something else. This is a small thing. I'll just say this and see what Solar thinks, because I don't know if you've seen him in the animated series at all. Jacen looks worse in live action than he did animated. Jacen, Hera's son, Hera and Kanan's son, look corny in the animation. And somehow he looks worse now. Maybe he doesn't look worse. Maybe he looks okay. Maybe it's just I don't know. I know they're leaving breadcrumbs. They're like, he's going to be a Jedi because of course Kanan was his dad. I'm sure he probably got skills, but I just
anyone can be a Jedi though.
Oh yeah, but anyone can be a Jedi. Just try hard. just try hard. You're gonna be all right. Like, now, Solar, did you ever watch any of the show where Jacen was present? Because you see him for like a little bit in like a little bit in the finale, like when they're kind of doing their epilogue kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely saw that, and in truth, all of them looked better in animation, except for maybe Ahsoka. So I don't get caught up on that. I know in the pilot
I was like, what?
I said except for Ahsoka, but yeah, I was remembering when the pilot came down, and I'm like, all right, and I'm like, okay, Ahsoka, she looks fine. I guess I was primed at the Mandalorian, but what's up with Hera? Man, her head things, the little head tentacle things there,
the head tails.
Yeah, they looked better in Return of the Jedi with the dancer. They weren't so stiff, But the big thing on that, and this is like the real talk that I'm getting at, is I try not to hold stuff like that against the I try not to hold stuff like that within the confines of my enjoyment, because they're two different mediums.
Yeah, I get you. It's just when he came out, I was like, what? Now, on the flip side, it's good to see that we got some fly barbers out in the galaxy, because when Hera rolled up, the brother had a nice fade on the side. True. So I was proud to see that. I was like, cool, nice little fade. Cool. We got barbers out there in the New Republic, making things nice. Even though, you know what, I'm gonna go and say it now. The New Republic sucks. They do. Okay, here's my issue. The New Republic, after seeing Andor, after seeing The Mandalorian, and now seeing this, y'all deserve to lose. Okay? Y'all deserve to lose. Okay. Hera comes in and says, we were just attacked by some people that said, long live the Empire, right? All right, that sounds like a rallying cry to me, but fine. They're like, nah, the Imperial fleet is scattered and broken. What? So you mean they're still there, right? Why are you not hunting them down? Now, I know y'all don't want to be the Empire, but one thing the Empire did do right is they made sure there was no trace. Like, let's be honest. There was a 1 in a billion odd that Luke grew up to like, come on now. He could have been in a car accident or something. Like, there was one, like, the Empire did a great job of making sure that they cleaned up every avenue. And they over here talking about scattered and broken. Moff Gideon, anyone? Dude took over the whole Mandalorian planet, had little robot troopers and stuff. What are you talking about scattered and broken? Like, this is, oh my God, y'all so stupid. Now, of course, you have to be stupid because this is a prequel, so y'all can't be smart, because if you're smart, people are going to be like, well, how did they lose to, but, oh man. And then Mon Mothma is sitting there not saying anything. It's like, girl, like, you talking to Hera right now. She is the lady that literally started the whole rebel cell out of Lothal, giving people on that planet hope. She knows what she talking about. Defend her. Like, why you just sitting there with nothing to say? Like I said, this episode gives me a lot to talk about, but I still don't like it. but Jay, how did you feel about the whole, I guess, Senate, the dumb Senate scene?
Well, here, so again, I do think that Solar is right in that it's cool that you have Mon Mothma talking to Hera, because that is a cool connective tissue for the Star Wars universe, and the fact that it's two strong female characters being connected there, I think, is good. The weird thing is, though, I do think that scene to me was the most jarring in terms of the disjointedness in the Star Wars series, because in Andor is like dripping with slow burn anxiety. Like whenever Mon Mothma is on screen, you're like, she feels like she's going to be figured out any second, right? Like, yeah, it just seems like this is so scary. But then you see her in the context of like, well, she's been behind the scenes making major moves in Andor in a lot of really important ways, and she stood up to her husband. She's played these games behind the scenes, and maybe she's playing another game here, but it feels almost like a little bit of a different character, right? Like, it feels like,
and I mean, I guess I know it's been years,
yeah,
but I mean, to see her not just sit there and not really say anything, I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, and they kind of tried to build up. One of the things that I feel like is really difficult for Star Wars, and Kathleen Kennedy admitted this at Celebration, because she said we've never done a series before, and Disney leadership said, by the way, it's all series now because we don't want to do movies. We want Disney Plus subscribers. And so one of the things that I think that is interesting is, like, the one senator was told to us right before they entered that scene that he was going to be difficult, right? I can't remember his name, like Sione or something like that.
Yeah, but, it's like Ziona, something like that.
Yeah, Ziona. Yeah, exactly. And so, like, instead of in episode 1 being like, they could have had a little scene in episode 1 where Hera turned to Ahsoka and was like, I know you want to do all this stuff, but I'm getting more and more pressure from Mon Mothma in the Senate that we can't do this stuff. They want us on peacekeeping missions. They want us, you could have had Hera show up to the ceremony where Sabine was supposed to speak and be like, I really don't want to be here. There's still Imperials to fight, but Mon Mothma keeps pressuring me, and especially this Zione guy. And then 3 episodes later, you pay it off by, like, now Zione steps into the scene, and you're like, oh, this is the guy. But
yeah, instead, and even have the guy outside. He does mention to her that he's in there, but he kind of tells us, his whole demeanor.
Yes.
If we had that issue, like you said in episode 1, then, later on in this, you could just have that guy say, you know, your friend is in there, and he's like,
Yeah, exactly.
And then we'd be like, who? And then we'd be like, oh,
yeah. See, that nails it. That nails what I'm talking about. It's like it feels like the pacing is odd. Like they haven't nailed the pacing yet. And trust me, like this stuff is not always easy. If you come from now, Filoni does have not a live action background, but he does have a TV background, so he probably understands this better than others. But it does feel like you're resorting to telling us things as opposed to just showing those things to us. Andor wouldn't have done that because Andor was, in my opinion, the best quality.
And that's the thing. We've had Andor. Well, we've had Mandalorian. We've had Boba Fett. We've had Andor. We've had now we have Ahsoka, and we've had Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
I don't really want these. We don't make TV shows excuses no more. Y'all make too much money. Y'all do, man. Like y'all make too much money. I don't want to hear these excuses no more. Like, just make something dope. Like, or hire the people that do. Like, I don't like. What's the issue? Y'all got all the money in the world. Just hire the people that do. Now I know y'all don't want to pay them. That's why there's a strike going on now. But like, hire the people and like make dope stuff. What's going on? What's the problem? Like, what?
Like you, imagine that scene, that same scene where she walks in and meets the senators. In that same scene in Andor would have had like 4 or 5 things going on behind the scenes where you're like, ooh, which one of these things is going to come out right now? Like who's playing who? What's going on? What is Hera trying to do behind the scenes? Like that all would have played out in such a better way. But this was just kind of like a excuse for Hera and Ahsoka to part ways. And now Ahsoka and Sabine have to do this on their own. Why? Because we got this one scene where Hera was told not to do anything. So you know, I think maybe this will work itself out over time, but yeah, this felt rushed, and I totally get what you mean.
Now I will give Hera points for the whole statement of like, you know, did you fight in the war? Like, excuse me, can someone raise their hands that dealt one-on-one with Imperials? You know, like did you or did you not? And then she said something like, did you just like sit around and wait to see who won? Because that is a fair statement. All of y'all standing before me are rich, and this rebellion, this battle, did not affect y'all at all. Now, there were some of y'all that wanted to help, like Mon Mothma, but she didn't have to. You saw her husband; they was chilling. Did anyone at any of those parties at Andor seem like they were worried about what the Empire was going to do? So, like, I do like that moment where she was like, did you fight anybody? Did you throw a punch? Did you fire a slingshot? So how about you sit down and let me handle this? But this is why y'all failed. The New Republic, the more we see from the New Republic, the more I'm like, yeah, y'all should have lost. Y'all, oh man, y'all should.
I can't disagree. I really can't disagree. I mean, I often have to ask myself the question: is the thing I'm looking at right now, a reflection of good storytelling, or is it a reflection of what we believe modern times are?
Okay.
Because see, right now, folks don't like the government. I don't care if you're liberal, conservative, leftist, or other. We ain't happy with the way that things are running. So when we take a look at something like, Star Wars, we see the New Republic, the good guys, the ones that we were rooting for in Return of the Jedi. We see them acting like we think our government does act, and it leaves a bad taste in our mouths. So it makes me wonder, like, what the writers are writing for. You feel me?
Okay. Mm-hmm. It's, I guess, inaction because they. And then, of course, like I said, it's a prequel, so I guess they can't be too good. Because if they are, then people will say, well, how in the world did they lose? Because they're too good. Like they knew to like round up these guys, never ever let them in a position of power, never ever allow them to be, I know. Then they have the whole idea of like, oh well, they've been rehabilitated. They're loyal to who? Man. But I do have a thing that I like, a little statement from Huyang that I liked, which the statement about Ahsoka being in a long line of non-traditional Jedi. I thought that was nice. I was like, yeah, you know what? Because you have, I guess in the biblical sense, you have Qui-Gon, who begat Obi-Wan, who begat Anakin, who begat Ahsoka, who now begat, of course, Sabine. So,
right.
I was like, you know what? I like that. It made me think about, okay, yeah, because Qui-Gon was kind of just doing whatever he was. Dude was out there gambling with people's lives. I don't think you're supposed to do that. Like, I don't know about like the Jedi writings, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't say go out there and gamble with somebody's life. It's all good. Like you can't, I guess you're not really gambling because you're fixing it, but then that means you're cheating. So is that the dark side part of you? Are you like, I don't know. But you got that. Then you got Obi-Wan, who definitely, he wasn't as cavalier as Qui-Gon, but he definitely was like, look, I'm gonna train this kid no matter what y'all say. So, and it's like, yeah, you breaking the rules a little bit. And of course, Anakin, we all know how that went. Is frolicking in the meadows, and next thing you know, you're killing younglings. So, I guess. Oh,
again, we don't talk about that.
But he's changed his way. You know what I'm saying? He redeemed himself in the end, killed the Emperor, so it's all good. But I know they're setting this all up for Sabine to be, like she's gonna get her connection to the Force and all that good stuff because she had that moment with the cup, which I do like. A part of me does like the part of the cup, because not for a narrative reason, but because I spent so many hours as a youth trying to move like a pen or a cup. Like, I mean, seriously focusing on this cup. Like I was like tuned in. Like mentally, like I could feel the cup in my mind. I could pull it, so I could connect with that. But with all of this, it makes me wonder: is this Ahsoka's show? Like, is it? Because this whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, I feel kind of like this is Sabine's show, and Ahsoka is here, kind of like just as a tour guide. And I mean, I could be wrong. And do either of you get that feeling that this is really a Sabine show?
So what I'm taking a look at, okay, the major thing that I'm really seeing, in this one is it has very much that element of, yeah, this is Sabine's show, yo. It really does have that element. I said it last week. I'm still waiting pretty hard, to see Ahsoka be the main one to shine. Now this one came a little closer. The action scene, the teaching scene. It was cool, but yes, Sabine is getting most of the character development, which is a little bit, what's the term I'm looking for? Frustrating? For a show called Ahsoka. I can definitely see where folks are coming off on that one. So when it really comes to that, I'm just kind of going, all right, we're still in the setup, and it's got me wondering one major question in regards to that, which is, how many episodes?
That is a good question. How many episodes does Ahsoka have? Because I want to look that up right now. Because, we need to get this rolling.
Yeah, because we're at episode 3,
8?
And this is
If you don't get out of here. Oh, I'm sorry. I started cutting you. Man, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you ain't wrong. Yeah,
8
you
episodes.
you are not wrong. Because
mistakes.
yeah,
Mistakes.
for a show that only has 8 episodes in the season, it really is being a little more than frustrating, you know, because I'm like, okay, so when is Ahsoka getting Ahsoka stuff? When we gonna do this? Hey, Ahsoka, we're waiting on Ahsoka. Like, hello,
man.
Ahsoka. That it would be nice to
8
have
episodes.
Ahsoka doing
So we
some
just
Ahsoka.
had the 3rd episode, which means essentially the mid-season finale is next week. Oh, also, Disney, stop trying to walk us back to traditional TV time. Stop doing this like, oh, Tuesday nights at 9. We don't. No, we don't. We left that. We don't. We don't do that anymore. But we did get to see the action scene like you were talking about. Jay, with the action, are you feeling the action scene, like the hold it steady and the hitting the target, even though I think Sabine, I don't think she should have to ask anyone to hold the ship steady, especially with a pilot like Hera. But
that wasn't Hera flying, that was Ahsoka.
But she should be used to wild flying or any type of flying. Because Hera, I mean, even though she's a great pilot, but that girl is doing spins and flips and rolls and whatever. But
okay, so
but action side, Jay, how are you feeling about the action?
Yeah, so before I go there, I do want to give a shout out because you brought it up earlier. Huyang is awesome.
Yes,
and he did push back because he did say when Ahsoka was like, "Yeah, how did the Jedi Order work out?" And he's like, "Actually, it worked out pretty great for a millennia." So I'm like, "Hey, way to stand up for that. That's cool.
Thank you." You know what I'm saying? Defend the Jedi Order.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody needs to defend them. Now, I do have a controversial theory that I think that Huyang may be disguising his Jedi protocol because he might be an agent for the non-Sith bad guys. Because
man,
I only say that because I watched episode 1 again and it was very suspect that he was so slow in picking up Ahsoka. They made a point to be like, oh, I was doing Jedi protocol, but it's like, but that protocol was terrible, bro. Like, you almost got Ahsoka killed. Like, what were you doing?
Yeah,
like,
and I mean, doesn't this ship go fast? I don't know. Step on it. Like, I don't know. I mean,
exactly.
They don't really have like ship speeds, but like, just go. There's no speed limit. Just hurry up.
Yeah. So like the last time we talked, we said the bad guys, the antagonists, were some of the coolest ones. Actually, they're probably protagonists because they're actually the ones trying to find Thrawn, and the antagonists are the good guys of preventing them from finding Thrawn. But whatever. I really like the bad guys, and I think Huyang might be a bad guy plant. But that's an aside. I have no clue. So action. So here's one of the biggest struggles I had with this episode, and somebody was saying online that going out into space is something that they've done in the Clone Wars. The Jedi have done in the Clone Wars. And here's the problem I have with it. I think it probably works. I can't remember it in the Clone Wars. I probably saw it, but don't remember it. I think it probably works in animation where it does not work as well in live action. Here's why I say that. One, I don't know how gravity was working in that scene, but there were some times when she was connected to the ship, and there were some times when she was floating off from the ship and couldn't control that. I don't know how that works at all, but it didn't make sense to me. Secondly, the other thing that really irritated me was that they were gearing up for that to be this awesome moment, and then she's just the way that a human being can like be in a quote unquote spacesuit and look cool. First of all, is very difficult. Second of all, you put that person on wires and have them do like a jump spin, which again, why does she come back towards the ship if there's no gravity? That whole thing. And if you say, oh, well, she was using the Force, well, then why didn't she use the Force to pull herself back after she already, when she's floating in space?
Yeah, why didn't she just hold it down like Leia?
Yeah, exactly. a lot of that to me.
Or do y'all
was...
want me to forget about that? Y'all want me to forget about Leia?
We seem to be forgetting about a lot of things in this show. That's the bummer. So yeah, that one did not come off well for me. Like, I just looked at it and I went like, that looks like it's supposed to be a moment, but it looks dumb to me. And I just didn't get over it. I was like, that's the big scene. That's the one big scene. Like, let's go back in time and to the original trilogy when Han and Luke are in the cockpit and they're fighting off the TIE fighters. There's a ton of movement in those scenes. They build like practical sets where the guns move as they move the barrels of the gun. Their actual seats move as well. They showcase the little heads-up displays for us. In this one, it just felt like everything was moving sort of in slow motion. It didn't seem like Sabine could work the cockpit fast enough. And then when she goes outside, it's kind of like, this is going to be a badass moment, but then like it's really kind of a cheesy moment. Everything seemed to just, I don't know if they didn't have enough time to film it or if everything just seemed to be on the wrong cadence. And I could have almost predicted, besides her going outside of the cockpit or whatever, I could have almost predicted it. It was like, okay, those non-named characters are all going to die, and the Merrick guy and the blonde lady are not going to die. That's what's going to happen. And lo and behold, there it is.
Her floating in that suit when she was telling like Sabine to go get her was kind of funny.
Yeah.
It was okay. So Disney's Lucasfilm. I'm tired of fixing your stuff, but here, let me fix this scene for you. For someone who has loved action films ever since Shaw Brothers, Terminator 2, whatever. She steps out. We've already seen Ahsoka use her blades without touching them. All right. Y'all have already said that. Y'all said that in Clone Wars, and you said this in live action here. She steps out. First, give her maglev boots because it makes sense. All right. She steps out there. She doesn't even have the blades in her hand because her igniting them, she don't need that right now. She dope. Homegirl Sabine is in her ear. She tells her to be quiet because she has to focus. All three of those ships are coming to her. You see her fist tightening, but she's not even raising her hands. And then boom, one of those small ships just crunches. Oh, snap. Ahsoka is that's a whole nother moment. Then when they pass
That's Vader style too. It called back to Vader style. Yeah.
Then when they pass her, she takes one of her blades, throws it using the force, cutting the wing of Merrick's ship. Boom, and pulls it back and then walks back into the ship like a boss. That's how you fit, man. Come on, man. Come on. I gave y'all that for free. And how much y'all paying y'all people? Y'all using ChatGPT. What y'all doing? Like, I'm just telling y'all how to make characters look dope. All right. Instead of just floating around in the air, I was like, is she all right? He's like, hey, just like floating.
That's a 10 times better scene in my mind. I would. It should
have been like, hold on, I need to focus. Like, shut up, I need to focus. And then she like tenses her fist, and one of those ships just crunches like a soda can. You'd be like, oh, whoa. Ahsoka's no joke. Ahsoka been holding out on us. And then even show the look on Hati's face, on Shin Hati's face, like, oh, whoa, I didn't know she was rolling like that.
Yeah.
Then that changes things.
Yeah. And you can follow that up with she tries to do it to Shin's ship, and Shin has to kind of try to hold it back with her own force power.
Yeah, right? Like you create just look, I'm just trying to tell y'all how to make people look cool, man. Especially as someone who just watched due to the anniversary, watched the first Blade movie again. Like, you introduce these villains that are like crazy ravenous wolves that are like just kicking around this dude on the floor. There's blood flying everywhere. Blade shows up, all of them back up. All of them. On cue, back up. And they're like, oh, hold up. Who's going to go up there first? Because I don't want to die. Like, that's how you create someone who's dope. That's how, like, man, I'm trying to show y'all the way. Y'all ain't listening.
I could say it is the way.
Yes,
I could say that.
But luckily, with that said, we do get space whales. We get space whales, and we get a nice little tour around the space whales, and we do land on a planet that hopefully will prove to be a dangerous chase, between the the Jedi and the sort of Sith, users, but we only have what, 4 episodes left? No, yeah, 5 episodes left. So, guys, you come on, man. Like this 8 episodes. Well, 8 episodes is enough if we don't spend time not happy with one another between Ahsoka and Sabine at the beginning. If we open up, if we have the jailbreak, and then after the Ahsoka title card, Ahsoka literally lands, comes up, Sabine, look, I know it's been a long time, but things are crazy and I need you again. And she's like, what do you mean? And she just stares at her. And she's like, I'll get my coat. Boom. Now we're off to the action. No, we don't need to like, I feel sorry. No, now we're off to the action because we got stuff to do. It's getting real again. It's getting real again. I wouldn't show up if it wasn't real. And now we got a whole episode 1 and 2 of doing action things and going to where we're going instead of like just feeling sad for ourselves and Huyang having to pick us up. Even though that was cool, but still just, I don't know.
Yeah, we should have, to your point, like the end of Act 1 should have been in an 8-part series. The end of Act 1 should correlate with the end of Episode 2. And in that moment is when we should have learned that Hera was not going to support Ahsoka and Sabine on their mission to try and defeat whatever Morgan and her crew are doing, right? Like that would have been the setup. Like now that's the rest of the show. How do Ahsoka and Sabine overcome the fact that they don't have any support and they're going up against 2 Jedi that are highly trained? Sabine's not trained yet, not fully. Not to mention a Night Sister. And they have new technology that can get them into another galaxy, which, by the way, we've never seen in Star Wars ever.
Yeah, we've only seen, the furthest we've seen is like sort of the further reaches outside of the Outer Rim, but that's like very little. I think in Rebels, I think there was a time when they were out of the further reaches, but it's rare that they go any further than that. So, it's, because Galaxy is big on its own. But we guys, come on. If you only have 8 episodes, you can't do this kind of stuff. You just did this with Secret Invasion, guys. Come on now. So, I guess we have a lot to look forward to. Hopefully, with this kind of chase through the forest.
Yeah.
But we have 5 episodes that could really pick up from here. Because, we're going to be bringing Ray Stevenson back in. And you see him. I like his demeanor. Because he sends them out to, of course, capture, kill the Jedi or whatever. But then he has a look on his face almost like he's, I don't know if he's apprehensive about it. I don't know. But you can definitely see he's not super into this as an idea of killing Ahsoka and stuff like that.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess with all that said, I'll throw it off to Solar. What are your final thoughts on this episode? Where can people find you? What do you want from these next 5 maybe hour-long episodes? Because the episodes have gotten shorter, so maybe half-hour episodes. What are you looking for?
So what I'm looking for out of these next few episodes is essentially, I'm gonna say, more with either story or interaction between the good guys and bad guys. Okay. I really liked the character development that was happening with Ahsoka and Sabine, since I'm not as deep into Rebels as you were. But our heroes and villains really haven't seen each other. We had one confrontation, which resulted in Sabine getting a war scar. But outside of that, Ahsoka hasn't talked to broad chest Harry man
Broad chest hairy man.
I don't know his name.
Hilarious.
I mean, it looks like the dude is wearing like full-fledged armor under the cloth. I mean, I love
when he has the cloth has it off. He has like these cool like shoulder pads and like gauntlets and stuff. Like he looks super cool. It's like sort of like Knights of the Round Table, but also with Star Wars Sithness.
Right, and I'm here for it. I really am. I'm really here for it. It's just a matter of I see it. I'm kind of with it, but when everything comes down to it, I want to see our bad guys and our good guys interact somehow. That would be nice. That would be very nice.
Yeah, it's severely lacking that. I'll agree.
But we got a whole 5 episodes left, so you never know. You never know. You never know how this is coming down. And I think I'd like the pacing to speed up just a little. Not like a whole lot. Not like I don't want all the pacing to be like, let's. I don't want an action movie, as it were. Okay. But I would very much I would very much like a little bit more, a little bit faster pacing. That would be cool. Some pacings that go a little bit faster. And some more interaction between our pro and antagonists. That would be kind of cool.
Because we kind of need that.
yeah that would be kind of neat. I'm not saying a monologue. I'm saying maybe a monologue. just a little something, like throw us a bone out here.
Like have Morgan send a hollow call or whatever and gloat in Ahsoka's face or something like that. Do something. Just a little bit of something. I've got my big set piece action chase scene, so I'm good with that for this one. But yeah, so pick up the pace, guys. Seriously, picking up the pace would be good. Yeah, that's what I would. And if you guys want to know where to find me, you could find me Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I had to change a few things up. On twitch.tv/BID_P. You can also hit up my Patreon at patreon.com/BID_P, or look for Back in the Deck on Spotify or SoundCloud and most of the places that you get your podcast from. Okay. Not bad. Guys, get out there. Support.
Yeah. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe here.
Give a like. Give a share. Sharing is caring.
And
if you don't care, share anyway. Do it anyway. But throwing over to Jay, final thoughts, and where can they find you?
Final thoughts. I'm still into the show. I'm not abandoning it. This is not an episode that I liked, but that's okay. I still like the first 2 episodes. Here's what I want to see. I want to see it come down to Ahsoka learning from Sabine that Sabine has skills that Mandalorians have that Jedi don't, so that she can be half Mandalorian, half Jedi, or fully Mandalorian, fully Jedi, and do some things that surprise Ahsoka, so that Ahsoka isn't necessarily so Ahsoka is surprised to learn that the person that she's training actually has some skills that she doesn't have. I think that would be cool. I want to see. What I really want is to dig into the motivations of the characters a little bit more. So, like, okay, Balin and his apprentice are not Sith. But why? Like, why aren't they Sith? Like, why are they the perfect opposites to Ahsoka? Because we know Ahsoka isn't a Jedi. So like, what makes them different from Ahsoka, and why? And maybe it can be like a Punisher, Daredevil thing, where it's kind of like, well, I'm willing to kill people to get what I want. Well, I'm not willing to kill people to get what I want. Okay, cool. Like let's hammer that out. Let's figure that out.
Okay.
I would like some more of that. That's interesting to me. I want to know why Morgan is involved and why she seems to be the one that's even like leading the project to jump to the next galaxy. Like, what are her motivations? What does she want out of this all? Do they want to bring back the Empire because they want to change what the Empire stood for? Because if you're not a Sith, then like, are you just looking for power in some other way, or are you actually trying to do something good for the
power
galaxy?
like you've never dreamed, but he didn't really say why or what that power is.
Right, and they're not disfigured like the Sith, so I don't have the thought process that they're like just abusing the Force in whatever ways they want to. There's some kind of reason or rationale to why they don't go full Sith, and I don't know what that is because we haven't spent enough time there. I would love to spend more time there. And then besides that, like I don't think I'm hanging on the arrival of Thrawn or the arrival of Ezra as much as the show wants me to be. So then explain to me why those two things are so critical, right? Like explain to me like if Thrawn comes back, we're doomed. Or if Ezra comes back, and he's going to come back as a Sith or something. I don't know. Just give me some rationale and some reasoning as to why these things are so impactful. Because right now it feels like you're leaning on nostalgia. And despite the fact that I've seen half of Rebels, I don't have that nostalgia. I don't really care that much. Thrawn is cool, so I want to see Thrawn, and I've read all the Thrawn books. I know what he's like in the novels. But I just need a little bit more tension throughout. The stakes need to be clearer to me. I think that's what I want. You can find me in a couple different places. How Stories Work with Jay Sherer. You can follow along as we film our latest short film. It is a thriller with some superhero characters worked in. It's kind of like if The Boys was a thriller instead of like an action comedy. So you can check that out. Over there, you can watch our journey a little bit. We're doing a table read. We did a table read last week, so you can check that out over there. And then on Orange Grove 55, the other channel where I moved the Story Geeks to, the Story Geek show, where we talk about these kind of shows, just like we're talking about with Michael and Solar. You can check that out on Orange Grove 55. We'll be talking about Ahsoka this Saturday. I don't know when it comes out, either Saturday or Sunday. We'll be talking about that. I'm sure we'll get some of these guys to be on the show at some point too. We'd love to have you guys. And besides that, that's where you can pretty much find me. You can find me on Twitter sometimes too, saying dumb things. Go follow me over there as well at Jay Sherer.
All right, cool. You know what? All right, so I guess I'll sort of go with what Solar was saying with the part about the antagonist and the protagonist have to actually meet. They have to butt heads. They've only butt heads once, and that's outside of Sabine's spot, but that was it. And they haven't seen each other since. There hasn't been any communication between them since. And the last time that Ahsoka has dealt with Morgan was back in Mandalorian. So they have to meet each other more because they have to build that tension that, oh, there's a reason they're fighting. This is why they're fighting. This is why they're fighting each other so hard or whatever. And then on Jay's side, yeah, this might be a prequel sort of issue, or maybe problem, maybe even worse than using the term problem, with leaning on nostalgia alone. And I say that mostly with Boba Fett and Obi-Wan. I think both of those shows really wanted us to love those shows just because they had those characters in it. Now, Boba Fett had some awesome moments. I really liked the moments when he was with the Sand People, where they kind of like got him back. They nursed him back to health, and he became part of their. But then they kind of just dropped that and was like, whatever. But I thought that was actually a cool part of his character building. And they kind of just like left it alone. and then with Obi-Wan, it was kind of like, well, hey, you like Obi-Wan, right? Well, here's a show about Obi-Wan. And I've pitched shows about Obi-Wan on shows. I've seen other people in other podcasts pitch shows about Obi-Wan that were better than what we got. And none of these people, myself, the other people on other podcasts that I can't remember right now, none of those people are making the Hollywood bucks. And somehow we just got, oh, so Leia? Well, I mean, guess, yeah, but now, okay, but see, because when you showed us Leia way back in the first movie, you didn't really suggest the relationship at all. And I mean, he saved this girl, and then also Leia's supposed to be 10 and that girl was like 5. There's so much where I think they are banking on, hey, these people watch all this stuff, so we'll just make this show. It's live action versions of them. Hey, they've got to love it. And it's not really working out that well when you look online what other people are saying. Now, there are some people that are just like, hey, it's Star Wars, so I'm happy. And I get it, because it's not that I dislike like what they've been doing. I mean, we do get some cool stuff, but it's such a mixed bag, I think. So, like, what I think I want from this show is that I want it to clearly be Ahsoka's show. Just like I don't think Obi-Wan's show was Obi-Wan's show. Okay. We had Reva, we had Leia, and I just don't feel like he was the hero. So just let Ahsoka be the hero. Sabine's cool, but you got us all hype about Ahsoka. Let her have her show. And of course, let her fight against other people that are equal to her in cool fights. And of course, like Jay said, let us know what they even want and why they want it. So, with that said, NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, podcast, all that jazz. Until the next space fight, until the next space whale, until the next turbo laser, this is from us to you saying peace.
Catch you guys later.